The comedian Kevin Hart seems like he's in big trouble. People are going after him because of the roast that he did recently, where another comedian made jokes about not only black people, but also George Floyd. This is going to get pretty bad. Let's take a look at this. Don't forget to hit the like button and the hype button.
Were you surprised by people's reaction?
From the roast?
Yeah.
Not from the people that aren't aware of what a roast is, right? Like,
I mean, the general public.
I'm not surprised, but you here's where we're like falling into a weird space. Okay. The roast isn't a new format of comedy
At all.
The roast and roasting is a specific format that has existed for years.
Forever.
Right? Roasts are meant to be brutal. It is a style of comedy. It is hard-hitting jokes that also have shock factor potential.
The black community is so proud of you right now. George Floyd is looking up at us all, laughing so hard that he can't breathe.
People should be upset like the George Floyd jokes.
I can say that some jokes weren't in the best taste. It was some that I wouldn't tell.
Mm-hmm.
Not my style, not what I would do. But some people are looking for that.
Right.
They're looking for that.
Well, let me say this. I talked to Cheryl. I think that those jokes about her husband, they hurt her feelings a little bit.
Her husband committed suicide 3 years into their marriage. I've been sitting next to her for 2 hours and I have to ask, how did he last that long?
I think a lot of people were taken aback by that joke.
You should be. It's in poor taste, but that's how they roast now. I didn't know exactly what they were going to say. If you're going to go against my husband taking his life, let's talk about mental health.
So the jokes attached to Cheryl's husband and him passing, from my understanding, there were conversations with Cheryl, and Cheryl said, no, you're fine. Like, by the way, not my business. I don't know if it did or didn't, but from my understanding, it did. From my understanding, Cheryl was okay because a call was made. At the roast, okay, jokes get said. All right, oohs and ahs.
I'm not mad at the jokes in general, right? I was more kind of worried about the fact that he was joking about black people as a whole instead of roasting the individual people. And I'm talking about Tony Hinchcliffe, I think his name is. I thought that the joke was a little bit weird. Like, fam, you just been wanting to say this about black people this whole time, and now you got an excuse. Make jokes about Kevin Hart, like not black people as a whole. That was really strange. The N-word and then the George Floyd thing. It's had nothing to do with George Floyd. So I can understand the jokes in general because it's a roast. People say a lot of the most disrespectful things at roast, right? Especially the newer ones. So I expected it. But a lot of people got upset when they found out that Kevin Hart did take jokes out of the roast, but chose to leave the ones about George Floyd in. That is kind of crazy.
In this particular case, Kevin, he kept bragging on the Breakfast Club about how it was his production, right? That means he got to make decisions. There have been any number of roasts prior to this, whether it was the one about Donald Trump, whether it was the one with Joan Rivers, all of these people, including Tom Brady, said, these people are off limits. We don't like these jokes. Let's cut them. Just like Kevin did. There were a lot of jokes that were cut, including some regarding Tony Hinchcliffe himself and the military and vets. They listened to it and all of them passed the sniff test. Well, not all of them, but George Floyd. And George Floyd represents so much to this country. The world basically stopped.
Right.
So you have a lot of people who are still suffering from anxiety, from trauma, especially the family. So for Kevin to get on that show and talk about it and then be so indignant about, no, I didn't hear the interview when Lauren said, did you hear the interview that I did with his family member? No, and now I won't listen to it. It was almost as if he was angry about the possibility of something that might have made him feel bad about his decision.
A lot of people are upset with Kevin Hart. I can get the frustration, but I am wondering why they're not even more upset with the comedian who made those jokes. Like, I don't get why people are just going right past that. It's kind of crazy. But a lot of people and comedians are speaking on it.
Here's the thing. I said this. I think one of the questions you hear is, why are we, after 2 weeks, still talking about a George Floyd joke? The alternate question to that is, why after 6 years are we still doing them? So I understand that, but I am a performer. I've said any number of things that have been offensive. I don't like what happened. I don't know that I'd have laughed at it. First off, I wouldn't have had somebody that I was that opposed to on a roast, because a roast is an intimate thing. It's about friends and people kind of giving each other a hard time and fucking around. Especially when you knew what he would do and you knew what would happen. The things I come away with, and I said it last week, I don't like that you cut jokes, meaning you were trying to protect people. You aired it in the first iteration, but not the second, because you knew how controversial it would be.
It'd be funny, man. Who people, they're supposed to be thorough, but they always fold for the devil. The devil meaning money. If you fold for money, you're no longer cool. Your rock star status is taken if you'll do anything for the devil's dollar. I don't respect you. I don't think you cool. I don't give a how much money they give you to betray our culture. You are a goofy.
Dame Dash going on those podcast tours. He doing a whole lot of interviews. I think that's a good route. But when it comes to the whole Kevin Hart thing, I get his frustration and the fact that he feels like he put Kevin Hart on. Because when Kevin Hart wasn't doing so well, he was doing bad. Dame Dash was giving him a lot of roles in his movies and things like that.
That was disrespectful. Kevin's another one I think is broke. I know Jamie Salter very well. His OG was Jeff Heckman. His OG was Jay Goldberg. Jeff Heckman owns Hilco. They only do business if it's in distress, allegedly, from what I remember. Like when you deal with like a fund, all that matters is what's the criteria to make the fund deploy. And the criteria for Jamie Salter is usually distress. He only does distress. So he has a vegan business that goes out of business, and then all of a sudden he sells his name, and now he has to sit there and he has to defend this. You know what I mean? And it's embarrassing. Jay and Kevin Hart are embarrassing because I put them where they're at, and then they went to the devil. And this is what happens. It seems like after 20 years, the gig be up. Like when is, as like, what would be the things that were said were very disrespectful. Like I'm a funny guy, but there's certain things in the hood you don't say in certain blocks, like pause. You don't talk about mothers. You don't tell niggas to suck your dick, pause. You just don't play with people that are dead. Like you don't play with, it's not funny. It's in poor taste. I mean, it might be a certain kind of humor, but I think in this temperature, based on the environment and the accusations, I just wouldn't see somebody volunteering to do that. And I felt like that could potentially destroy any iota of his career because people were able to tell him the truth to his face, how terrible his movies are, how he'll take $1, and how they could disrespect him while he's there and say it's humor. So people would have started saying and all that other shit. Would that have been all right? Where is the line drawn? There's humor, but then there's disrespect. And that was a public humiliation for our culture to me. And that's not why I put Kev on. So that was embarrassing to me. And again, I look at him as a literal little brother. Literally. He's little. So I start to feel sorry. I don't understand how, like even his laugh, like it was so contrived. You saw certain black people just not laughing. Dave Chappelle would have never let that happen. Cat Williams ripped him, pause. And he had to say, "Thank you, sir. May I have another?" From what I understood, and it's funny because I was on the plane the morning after it happened, going to see the Don Farrakhan, and it came up on my feed, and I watched the whole shit. And I was like, oh, shit.
That's crazy. That is wild as hell. He about to have a meeting with Farrakhan and bring your name up, Kevin. Like, yeah, we got to talk about what Kevin did to the community. I do understand, like, why everyone is upset. I get it. I do think that people should realize that it is a roast, so you're going to get the most extreme jokes. These people are getting paid to go up there and be spoken about in that way, right? So it just is what it is. But I will also say the jokes were in poor taste, right? Even when I heard it, a lot of people was hyping up the roast when it first came out. I said, let me go here what they say. And I heard Cat Williams is going to be there. Let me see. And then I heard some of those jokes that Tony said. And I was like, yikes, that's not even about Kevin Hart. He is blatantly making jokes about Black people, right, as a whole, and just getting off certain feelings that he wants to get off, or he's just treating his shock humor like that deep and serious that he doesn't care. He just wants to offend. In either way, I think is in poor taste and not really the way to show that you're a real comedian. I think it's corny, right? But it's still a roast. Everyone had the opportunity to go off on everybody. Shoot, if you're a real comedian and you good with the freestyle, you could have went even harder on Tony in the moment because you were offended. Or just be honest, right? Like I used to love when Patrice O'Neal would blatantly tell someone who was racist, yeah, you're definitely racist. Oh yeah, that was a racist joke. He wouldn't even be offended, but he'll say it like, yeah, that was super racist. I think that's what Tony need. But tell me what you guys think down in the comment section. Hit the like button and the hype button. Also, check out my music if you can. You can find me on Spotify and Apple. The link should be in the homepage.